Yo, what is up, everybody? How are you guys today? Woo! Good? Okay, a couple people. I was praying really loud in the corner for the Cowboys right now. My Cowboys are down, so a little sad. But you guys will cheer me up. Who's excited for a new year? Right? Doesn't that always feel good? It's like getting this fresh start at something. I love New Year's. It's one of my favorite times because I'm just like, man, I get this fresh start. 2018 was not the best year, but I get a fresh start. I love like a new year, like this new beginning. I remember in high school, me and my friends were just chilling at their house, and we were talking, and we're like, what do we want this new year to be like? And I was sitting there on the couch, I'm like, man, this is the year I'm gonna meet a girl. I'm gonna fall in love this year. And that's what was going through my head, and that did not happen that year. But I remember my friends were just laughing at, that's not what you say, I guess, to your guy friends. So I said that, and they just like laughed at me. My other friend said, this year I'm gonna get super ripped. I'm gonna up my bench. I'm gonna get ripped this year. And we're gonna win the state championship for football. And my other friend sitting on the couch, and him and I were on the basketball team, and he's like, this year we're gonna win the playoffs. We're gonna make it to CIF. And we all had these different like resolutions, right? We all had these different like goals for the year, and we're like, we are gonna chase it this year. And I was getting ready for this year, and what I do, and I do this long like prep time. I'm a nerd when it comes to goals, and I'm like, this year I'm gonna write a book and all these different things, and working through my goals. And I had this voice in my head. I promise I don't have something wrong with me. But anybody ever had a voice in their head telling them something? And this voice was like, but Matt, you said the same thing last year. They're like, Matt, you set these same goals a year ago, and you didn't do it. Anybody have like this negative voice sometimes that was just like, you're not gonna do it, you can't. Or this voice that even said, you made these goals, you made these plans, and you're just gonna keep trying, like you're not gonna do it, just do better. I call it like this do better voice. Like, Matt, you need to do better at this. You're a failure at that. You need to be better at this. Anybody ever have that voice in their head? Maybe it was great. You're like, there's this voice saying, before you even take the test, you're gonna fail. I've had that voice before. Maybe this voice before like a big game. You're not gonna perform that well. And I think we've all, I need to switch mics. That one was dying. But I think we all sometimes can have like this negative spirit. It was like your 2018 was bad. Your 2019 is gonna suck. And I just remember, I think this Bible character we're talking about, Peter had that, right? This guy, he's not just a character in a book. Tim and I really sat down at the end of 2018 and we're like, what are we gonna plan for this new year? And we wanna really talk about these real people in this real Bible that really lived and show their failures, show where they messed up, show that, hey, you know what? Like, we're human just like those guys are. And this guy Peter, and Tim did a great job talking about it last week, but Peter was a disciple of Jesus. What that literally meant was he was a student. He followed Jesus around. The Bible talks about they followed these rabbis around so closely, the dirt from their sandals would come up and hit them. That's how closely they followed Jesus. And this guy Peter was not perfect. Jesus actually said some things to him like, stand behind me, Satan. Like, Jesus said that to Peter because Peter was interesting. Peter was the first for everything, right? Jesus said, Peter, come walk on water. And Peter was the first one to try and get off the boat and walk on water. Jesus was getting arrested, and Peter was the first one. He drew his sword and actually cut off this Roman guard's ear to protect Jesus. Like, Peter was this disciple. He was one of Jesus' favorites, one of the closest friends to Jesus. Imagine that, Peter saw Jesus get arrested. Peter saw Jesus get crucified. Peter was there. So when we're talking about, in the Bible, and the Bible says that, we're talking about Peter who lived with Jesus, who followed Jesus, who saw all of these things happen. who probably got on Jesus' nerves, was actually real, and he wrote down some things. And so Peter was a disciple, and then how I kind of labeled it, he went to denial. Right? Peter, as Tim pointed out, he denied Jesus 3 times. You're like, wait, what does that even mean? Somebody would come up to Peter, and they're like, you're that guy who hung out with Jesus. You're that guy. And Peter's like, no, not me. I never have seen that guy before. Wait, and then somebody else would come up to him like, no, I saw you. You're the one who was in the boat with him, and Jesus was doing this thing like, healing you, cha. And all these things. And Peter's like, no, like, I never knew that guy. Just stop associating me with him. I don't know him. And a third person walked up to Peter. They're like, no, I swear, I bet you, I saw you on that boat. I saw you with that guy, Jesus. I saw you for years with him. This is not just like one time to like the mall and just hanging out just casually. Like, Peter was with him everywhere. And somebody's like, I swear I saw you. And Peter's like, stop it, no. I was not with this guy. I don't know this guy. I don't follow this guy. I don't know who he is. Jeez, that's not a good friend. Imagine that was you. Like, I saw you hanging out with him. Nah, I didn't. But Peter was yelling like, no, like, I do not know this person. And I was thinking, and I was like, man, Peter is a bad friend. Like, I would never do that to Jesus. Anybody ever thought that? And God spoke so clearly to me. He's like, Matt, you haven't done that with your words. I was like, I know Jesus. Like, look at my Instagram. Look at my Facebook. I posted a Bible verse the other day. And God was like, but you've done that with how you've acted. Maybe you didn't deny Jesus with your words. But maybe you just denied Jesus with how you talked. I was like, dang it, God. Don't you hate it when God's right and you're wrong? He's like, dang it. He's like, Matt, you posted that Bible verse the other day, right? Like, didn't you just do like a video for this Christian Instagram page and they just roll a video of you talking about a Bible story? Didn't you just post about that? But when you got home, you talked so rudely to your wife. God began to just speak to me and say, but Matt, like, yeah, you posted something about God. Yeah, you went to go even preach a couple weeks ago at Eastlake Students. And you're married and sometimes you struggle with the way that you look at other women. I'm just going to be real with you guys tonight. I am a pastor. I'm a Christian. I do not have everything figured out. I struggle just like everybody. I heard ESPN. Hopefully the Cowboys score a touchdown. And Peter denied Jesus with his words. And God was like, Matt, like, you've been denying Jesus sometimes with your actions, just with the way that you live. So Peter went from disciple to denial. And then we jump into a book called Acts, and Peter was standing with the 11 disciples. It is this special event called Pentecost. And in the crowd, there was 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people, thousands of people standing there watching. And Peter got up and he went to go declare something. So I said he went to disciple, denial, to declare. He went to go speak something to all of these people, thousands of people. And it was called Pentecost. And Peter had these words to say. And it shall come to pass that everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Everyone. That's how he started, right? Everybody who comes to Jesus. Everybody who says, I want to follow you. Peter was declaring this. He said, you're going to be saved. You might be sitting there like, I'm new to this church thing. I'm new. Maybe I'm not even a Christian. And saved from what? Saved from what? We'll get into that a little more later, but saved from death. Saved from eternal death. And so Peter was standing here, and not tripping over cords like I am, and he was declaring, like, just say yes to Jesus. Just say, I want to follow you. You will be saved. Like, this is a promise from God. He said, men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God with mighty works and mighty wonders and signs that God did through him in your midst. As you yourselves know, this man was handed over to you by God's deliberate plan and foreknowledge. And you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross. You see, Peter was saying God had a plan. Like Drake said, Peter is just echoing Drake right here. Like God had a plan, right? But God's plan was that Jesus would die. God's plan that Jesus would not just die, but he would be crucified on a cross. God's plan that Jesus would be whipped. God's plan that his own son would be carried and have to walk up a hill and couldn't even walk and be thrown up on a cross. And Peter saw this stuff happen with his own eyes. And he's saying it's because of us. It's because of people. Jesus lived perfectly. We don't. And Peter was saying it was God's plan. God knew this was going to happen. And it was out of love. It was out of love. God did this out of love. God did this because he loves you. He loves you. He loves you. He loves all of us. Despite whether we follow him or we don't. Whatever religion we are doesn't separate us from who God loves. So Peter's saying it was all a part of God's plan that Jesus would suffer because Peter knew that would save millions and billions and millions of people. God's plan sometimes is greater than ours all the time. But God's plan is greater, and it's hard for me to understand that sometimes. But God, my grandma died. How is that even good? Because I watched people come to know Jesus at her funeral. But God, why is this happening in my life? And what I love about this is that God knows everything that's going to happen for the rest of our life. And he has a perfect plan. Right? I love LA. I'm from LA. I love LA. And I would drive around LA and you see some cool things, right? You see big buildings, you see all this stuff. But then when I was actually flying into LAX or flying into downtown San Diego, you see things from a different view, right? You see all of these buildings. You see all these cars that look like ants. God's view is much bigger than our view. We see it from a street level. God sees it from the air. God sees it from this big scope. And I always have to remind myself that when I'm going through a hard time. And then Peter said, but God raised him from the dead. It didn't just stop that Jesus died on the cross, but God raised him up from the dead, freeing him from death. Freeing him from the agony of death because it was impossible for death to keep a hold on him. You see, God raised him up. God gave him the power. And that happens to our situations, right? We see it from our view and we're like, man, it's dead. God waited 3 days to raise Jesus up. Imagine being Jesus' friends and family, seeing it from Peter's view. Seeing it from that street level view. All right, God, I know it's a part of your plan, but it's been 2 days. He's dead. No, God saw it from a different view. And God raised him up on his timing, on his plan. And I think God does that with our situations. Sometimes it really does get better. Sometimes people really do get healed. It was a dark night when Jesus died, but the resurrection made it bright. Sometimes we're going through these dark situations, and Jesus is waiting for his timing, and he's going to make it light again. Right? And sometimes it just doesn't happen to our plan. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But God changes the way we see things. God changes the way we view things. Maybe that's the lighter part. Maybe that's when the light comes on, the bright light. God sees it so differently, and he helps us. He encourages us. God comforts us. And I've been thinking through, like, God, like, sometimes you don't comfort me the best. He's like, Matt, I sent you a wife. I sent you great friends. I sent you a growth group. I sent you a great church. I sent you so many people in your life to comfort you. I sent them. I'm comforting you. You just don't always see that it's me. And I think that's what Peter was saying here. Peter was saying, God, it's your plan. You allowed this to happen and you raised him up. And this is called the gospel. This is what the gospel is. It means the good news. This is the good news of Jesus, is that he died for us. He saved us from death for eternity. He raised up Jesus to show his power. And I believe he shows us he can raise us up in any situation. We have to change our view. And I think this is just such a great reminder as we start a new year, right? We can have those voices of failure. Do you know, if you were in a conversation with somebody, they told you 9 positive things and 1 negative thing, you'll leave that conversation focused on what? The negative thing. Because that's the way our brains are. And God knows that. But maybe in 2018, you felt like a failure. You felt like, you know what, God, like, I didn't follow you. That was my plan, was I was going to take a step closer to Jesus. But I actually took a couple steps back from where I wanted to be. Guess what? This is a brand new year. That means a fresh start. And there's a word that comes to me. Like, this one word is what I wanted this entire series to look like about the best year ever. There's one word that I find all through the Bible, and sometimes I'm really good about talking about that word, but really bad about showing that word. And it's called grace. Some of you might have heard this word. Some of you might have a friend, or that might be your name. But this word called grace, and that means I'm undeserving, but I still receive. I didn't deserve what somebody gave me, but they still gave it to me. We don't deserve what Jesus did. We don't deserve God's plan. But God still gave us Jesus. God still loves us so much. Despite where we are and how good we are doing with him, he loves everybody so much that he gave Jesus. Remember that first part? We just have to say, I want to follow you. And that word grace, my friend put it so perfectly. He said, Matt, when I was a kid, I did really bad on my report card. He said, I knew when I got home, my parents were going to chew me out, like they expect really good grades. And I didn't get good grades. So I went home, and I was so scared to walk into that door when I was going home. And I walked in, and this was like elementary school grades. And his parents were like, Alex, let's go to McDonald's right now. Like, you can get anything you want off of the menu. He's like, oh, cool. They didn't get my report card. I'm good. He gets to McDonald's and orders all of his food, gets his ice cream cone. And they sat down, and he's going to town on like his Big Mac and his quarter pounders and his ice cream, probably all at once. And then his parents said this to him, Alex, we got your report card. We know you got bad grades. And he stopped. He's like, why did I get all of this food in McDonald's as a treat if you knew I got bad grades? They said, son, we love you anyways. We wanted to give you something even if you don't deserve it. And that is the message of grace, right? We don't deserve it. But God gave it to us anyways. We don't deserve Jesus. But God gave it to us anyways. God gave us a path to live with him for eternity through Jesus. And that's because this word called grace. And I love the last part of what he said in verse 41. He says, those who accepted this message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their numbers. 3,000 people said, I want to follow Jesus when this was going on. They weren't in an air-conditioned auditorium like this. But 3,000 people said, I want Jesus. I want to start this year the right way. I know I've said that every single year since I've grown up is, I want to start my year off with Jesus the right way. And then something hits and hits and hits. And we take steps farther back away from Jesus. Seeing how far the stage goes. And grace says you get a fresh start. You get a clean slate. You get a brand new page to write on this year. And God does not expect us to do this by ourselves. You're like, man, I know you're going to talk about growth groups and friends and all that stuff. But it's so true. It's so true. I cannot be where I'm at today without good friends. I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be living in San Diego. I would not be here tonight if I did not have good friends. I don't know where I would be. My friends showed me grace. My friends encouraged me. My friends helped me. My friends preached Jesus to me every single day. And I'm just, it's so crazy to think what God does with a brand new start. With a brand new start. And so some of you guys are like, oh, I'm doing just fine. But some of you guys are like, I need a new start. I need something new. I need to not just get this notification on my phone about a Bible verse every day, but I need to actually read that verse. Some of you are like, I know, I actually need to sign up for a group this year so I can have friends who are Christians. This is that year. This is that time. I tell myself over and over again when I'm like, I can do this later, is that a later is never promised to me. A later is never promised to me. I have so many friends who said, I'll get right with God later, and they never made it to the next day. So this is our opportunity for a brand new slate, a grace year. A year where we can just say, all right, God, I'm gonna try it out. Some of you are just like, you know what? I'm cool with where I'm at. Some of you guys are like, I don't know. I have baseball, I have football, I have homework, I have 9 AP classes because all you guys are smart. I have all of these things, right? I don't got time for God. But maybe I'll try it out this year. Maybe this is the year I'm gonna try Jesus. I'm gonna just test it out. See if this Jesus thing's about. And some of you guys are like, I need a fresh start. I need this right now. And I'll just be real with you guys. My wife told me this morning, where have you been the last 2 days? I have not even seen you. Tim and I, we spent so many hours sitting there. He's probably sick of me. And just planning out this year. Planning out 2019. Hanging out with people, hanging out with students. And our biggest thing is we will do whatever it takes. Sometimes we do have to say no, but we will do whatever it takes to walk with you guys. You might be like, I don't even know how to read a Bible. Cool. Starbucks is on Tim. We'll teach you how. Thanks, Tim. I'll take a vanilla latte. Some of you guys are like, I don't know how to pray. I mean, what do I say to God? Let's do this together. We're not here because we get paid the big bucks. I know I'm wearing Yeezys. Everything I wear is fake, guys. And I have good clothes. I buy them from China. These ones are real, but everything else is fake. Walker already knew that. But guys, like, we don't get paid all this money to just sit in an office. No, like, our entire hearts, our entire lives are bled out into you guys and to help you guys to know Jesus more. Anything we can do. I will shut my laptop. I will turn off whatever game I'm watching. I will meet you at Starbucks. We will do this together, but our entire hearts and our entire lives are for you guys to know Jesus and to grow. And so let this be a year that we all take a step forward together towards Jesus. I'm going to pray, and Tim's going to come up here and close it out. Dear God, we just